Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will discuss that how our heart works. So before going to the activity of our heart, first we focus on the structure of our heart. So this is our heart. Heart is actually act as a pump. It pumps the deoxygenated blood from the different parts of the body, pumps in, and then it pumps that deoxygenated blood to the lungs for purification, and from the lungs, whenever the purified blood comes to heart, it transfers that blood by the pumping system to different parts of the body again. So in that way heart acts as a pump, and our circulation is actually carry on by the heart. Let's come into the structure. Our heart is four chambered structure. There are four chambers. Look at the picture. Look at my diagram that these are the upper two chambers are auricle and lower two chambers are ventricle. This is the left auricle, and this is right auricle. This is left ventricle and this is right ventricle. Okay. Heart have a outer covering. That covering is called the pericardium. I focus that part here. The innermost covering is endocardium. Middle myocardium and outer pericardium. Okay, endocardium, myocardium and pericardium, these three together form, this is epicardium. Endocardium, myocardium, epicardium, these three together form pericardium. And within this membrane there is a liquid called pericardial fluid. That fluid helps, actually it absorbs the jerk, because heart acts as a pump. It is continuously contracting and relaxing. So to absorb the jerk there is a liquid called the pericardial fluid. Okay, so this is the outer covering of our heart called pericardium, made up of three endo, myo and epicardium. Okay, there is a separate wall, septum. We call it as a septum, that partition wall. That it divides the ventricle into two parts and also the auricle into two parts. Left auricle, right auricle, left ventricle, right ventricle. Okay. Then there is a three pipelines. Okay. This is the superior vena cava. This is called superior vena cava. It collects the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body. Here I draw the diagram by blue. That means this blue color denoting the deoxygenated blood and red indicating the oxygenated blood. Okay. So the superior vena cava, it collects the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body and pour into the right auricle. This is inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava. It collects the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body and pour into the right auricle. Superior vena cava collect blood from the upper part of the body, and inferior vena cava collect deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. And this one is coronary sinus. Coronary sinuses that collects deoxygenated blood of the heart, and it poured into the chamber of the heart. Okay. Now, one thing I have to note, we have to notice that, look, the wall of the ventricle is thicker than the wall of the auricle. Why? It's because whenever the blood comes into the ventricle, that ventricle have a responsibility to transport that blood to the lungs. Okay, transport that blood to the lungs. So it needs a tough fill to jump the blood to transport that blood to the lungs. If it is not be very rigid, it says if it is not very strong, then the blood will not be able to jump to the lungs. So it must be very strong mechanically. That's why the wall of the ventricle is very strong. It's very thick than in compared to the wall of the auricle. Okay. Now these are the pipelines that are emerges from the lungs. They transported the blood from lungs to the left auricle. Okay, this is called the pulmonary vein. These are pulmonary vein. Okay, and another two pipelines are there. This is pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. And this one, this is aorta. Okay. Now, one thing, look here. Vein and artery. Okay, we all know that vein carries deoxygenated blood and artery carries oxygenated blood. But here is the exception. Here, pulmonary vein, which is carrying the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. And pulmonary artery, it's an artery, but it's carrying deoxygenated blood, then that it transfers blood from ventricle to lungs for purification. So here is the two exceptions. So these are the pipelines that comes in the blood heart chamber and that outs of the heart chamber. And there are another structure is there, that is valves. The function of valve is to allow the one way. Allow the blood to go in one way direction. So here are three caspids as there. So this is the tricuspid valve. This is tricuspid valves. Tricuspid valves. And this one, there is a two cuspids are there. That's why it's called the two bicuspid. Or it's also called mitral valve. Mitral valve. Okay. Tricuspid valves and bicuspid valve or mitral valve, we can say. Another valves are present. These green colored valves, these are present within the aorta and the pulmonary artery. These two valves are called the semilunar valves. These two valves are called semilunar valve. Okay, so these are the basic structure of a heart. And now look how circulation, how it works. Now deoxygenated blood is coming from the superior vena cava, from inferior vena cava, and from the coronary sinus, and they come into the right auricle. Whenever the right auricle is filled up with deoxygenated blood, then the valves get opened. When the valve get opened, the blood come into the right ventricle. When the blood come into the right ventricle, the valves get closed, and then and there blood from the superior vena cava, coronary sinus, tricuspid valve, they also transport blood for the next time. No chamber remain empty at that moment. Okay, so when the blood come from the right auricle to the right ventricle, now it is ready for transportation to the lungs. Now this blood goes to the lungs by the structure called the pulmonary artery. When it enters into the pulmonary artery, the valve closed, then this blood come to the right ventricle. In that way the process is actually going on. Now the deoxygenated blood goes to the lungs for purification. After purification, the blood comes from the lungs to the left auricle by pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein transport the oxygenated blood to the left auricle. Whenever the left auricle get filled with the oxygenated blood, the bicuspid valve get opened and the oxygenated blood come into the left ventricle. Then from the left ventricle, whenever it is filled with the oxygenated blood, it transport that blood to the aorta, and aorta transported all the oxygenated blood throughout the body. Okay, in all organs. Okay, it transport oxygenated blood to all organs, all parts of the body. So in that way our circulation actually going on. Thank you for watching. If you have any doubt, definitely ask me in my comment section. Thank you.